Welcome to Should Have Known. I'm Venomous, and with me as always is my hetero life mate,
Titan.
On today's episode, we're going to be discussing weight loss.
Yeah, so I think I know for myself, and I'm pretty sure you had your own personal journeys trying to go through with dieting and exercise and all that, and how it comes to play with, getting older and trying to be in better shape and all the fun stuff that comes along with dieting. So that's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to share our experiences with you all. But we're not doctors, so we're not giving you medical advice, just telling you what we've done.
That's right. We'd love to interact with you, so please, if you like this video, like it, subscribe, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your own weight loss stories. So I do have a confession to make.
Yeah.
My confession, and this is really more to the audience than you, is that
Sure.
I am not, in real life, I am not this svelte. Like, I am not this snatched in real life.
Sure. Yeah,
I wish I were.
Either. You wish you were a little bit taller?
I wish I were
Wish
taller.
you were taller?
Yeah, that's right.
You wish if you had a girl, you'd call her?
Well, the girl I do got,
I get it.
I don't call her.
I get it, though. I mean, I'm not this slim and trim, but, I have worked on it over the last few years. But it's a journey no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also very, very frustrating. And it takes a ton of motivation to keep it off. So
Yeah, it's really tough for sure.
So what have you done? So what has been your experiences as far as what have you tried to do? Have you tried anything? Have you said, fuck it, I'm not doing anything? Yeah. What have you tried to do?
So I've tried different things. So with a varying degree of success. I've done, what is it? Oh my gosh. Is it the Jenny, what is it? What's the stuff, the smart one stuff? What is that one? That's Jenny Craig? Is that what it is?
Weight Watchers.
Weight Watchers. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. I don't know what I'm talking about. See, this is why I fail at dieting. Yeah. So I've tried, Weight Watchers. And I remember when I did it, like I was super into making sure that I stayed within my daily allotment of points and everything. I even went as far as developing a little web app that had foods from restaurants that that were near me, near my work and near where I lived at the time. That way, no matter where I went, I would always have something within my points that I could eat. So that really helped a lot.
Right.
And so I've tried that. But then the problem with that diet is I felt like I was constantly like hungry, So that sucked. And then I've tried low carb diets several times. Now, let me back up real quick. So in the Weight Watchers diet, I did lose weight. I lost a bunch of weight on that. So it worked, right? I stayed within my allotted points,
right,
and it worked fine. I was just starving all the time and miserable, which sucked. Then I decided, and this is when like Atkins was like all the rage. I decided I'm going to try that. So what happened was I tried Weight Watchers, lost a bunch of weight, gained weight back. So I'm like, screw this. I'm going to try something different because I was miserable on that diet. So I tried Atkins. And that worked. And I wasn't hungry all the time. And it was great. And I lost even more weight on that. And then what ended up happening was eventually I ended up gaining my weight again. And recently I've been trying to diet again. For whatever reason, it's much harder now that I'm older than I was when I was younger. And I think, and I'm not going to say it's metabolism because that really is not it. At least not in my mind. My problem now is just staying motivated and wanting to keep up with it, which is the problem that I struggle with now. So those are the things that I've tried. I've always kind of yo-yoed up and down with my weight, even when I wasn't necessarily trying to lose weight purposely. That's just the way I go through these weird cycles throughout my life. So there's also just life, right? That happens and you get stressed and you eat more and you're happier, so you eat less, that sort of thing. So those are kind of my experiences dieting. How about you?
Yeah, so a lot of similarities. So I didn't actually I did try. So I've done like prescription pills. I've done over the counter stuff. And from what I found, no matter which system you go with, uh, if if you haven't changed your habits, you're just going to put it
Yeah.
back on. Um, Now, most recently, I let's see, starting in 2021, yeah, 2021, I was like, I can't do this anymore. For this, so I was like, I'm going to do Nutrisystem, right? Because I had a friend of mine, he recommended it, and it works. It does. It works. So if you follow their plan and you stick to it, it will work.
Hmm.
It's a little bit slower to a certain extent, um, because you have, these are the foods you can eat, and when you first start, it's like, okay, here's your calorie intake for the day. Here's the stuff you can't have, like little things, like ranch dressing and stuff like that, because those are hidden calories that we never think about.
Very good point. Yeah, absolutely.
And so you go through it, yeah. So you go through all that, and you drop like a ton of weight the first week, and because you're on this much lower calorie, I think it was 1,500 calories, or maybe 1,200. Either way, and then the next week you can add on a little bit more. You get extra snacks and stuff from them, and it works great. But yeah, I lost like a ton of weight to get you motivated. But in the end, it's just water weight in the beginning. It's just
Right. Yeah,
inflammation and all
Yep.
this other stuff, right? It's just leaving. So, but I did. I think I lost like 120
And that
pounds
fakes you out,
doing
doesn't it?
that.
Right? Like the first couple of weeks when you're on a diet, you drop a significant amount of weight, and in your brain, you're like, "Oh man, this is
Yeah,
amazing. This is awesome." And then in
exactly.
subsequent
And so it helps
weeks,
motivate you.
that drop off isn't quite as dramatic, and then you're kind of like, "Well, what am I doing wrong? Like
Right.
this isn't. I'm not losing weight how I
Exactly.
anticipated losing weight." So that's one of the issues that I kind of encounter.
Yeah. And, yeah, and I think along with it is you have to weigh yourself the same time of day. Don't weigh yourself at different times of days. Same time of day, and it will fluctuate from day to day because of inflammation and water gain and things like
Yeah.
that. It's going to change. I know there for a while, like in the summer of 2022, I would walk. I actually started doing CrossFit because I had lost so much weight, but I was like, I'd kind of plateaued. And I was like, I got to do something more. And so I went and did this CrossFit membership, and they put me on this diet plan, which was super restrictive, like crazy restrictive. You were only supposed to do it for like a month. I ended up doing it for like 4 months. I just stayed
Damn,
on it
man.
because I was like, well, I'll just keep going in it because it was working. But I remember I would go out and I'd weigh myself in the morning and I'd go on my walk. And because it was so hot and humid where I live, I would lose 5 pounds, on the walk. But as soon as I would drink and eat breakfast and stuff, boom, it was right back on, which was fine. I
Yep.
mean, I understood that it was just, this kind of water weight.
Right. Right.
But I mean, it's like wrestlers and fighters that lose weight crazy. But so I went through all this, and I think in the end, how much did I lose? No, that's actually the way I got down to 120. I'd lost 80 originally. When I started the CrossFit, I got it down further. I'd lost a total of 120.
That's amazing.
And I was pretty close to what I call my ideal
Yeah.
weight. I was like super excited about it and felt good, And I actually bought like a bunch of new clothes because I couldn't wear my old clothes anymore. So I actually tailored some of them, got them slimmed down so they were cut to fit, which actually was cheaper than buying new shirts. I
Interesting.
went
I
through all
never
that,
would have
right?
thought about that.
And then, and then when I got rid of all my old clothes, I donated them because I was like, I'm not going back to that. And then after some things changed in life. My girlfriend moved in. There's a bunch of different changes, which changed my schedule. It affected things, as far as what to eat and stuff. And next thing I know, 8 months later, I put 40 pounds back
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
And I wasn't even eating crazy. I was still going to the gym. I was still, yes, I wasn't eating the same strict diet I was doing, but I shouldn't have been putting on that much weight. And so I was like, well, maybe it's a thyroid issue or something medical. I ended up talking to my doctor. They tested everything. Nope. Just, it is that thing. But I actually read an article about a month or so ago. Good luck finding it. as you did in that last episode, which was awesome. But in this article, it talked about your body has like, oops, shit, Mike. Your body has like a set point. And when you put on a bunch of weight, that's your set point. And so you lose a bunch of weight, and then your body's like, no, I'm trying to get back to that. So as soon as you stop the diet, it tries to get back to that set point. And through going through iterations of dieting, it does adjust that set point. So over about a month ago, I was like, I can't. I put on 40 pounds. I'm not doing this. Clothes weren't fitting anymore. Wasn't going to buy new clothes, even though I had to buy a couple pairs of jeans because the others just wouldn't fit, whatever. And so I talked to my doctor, went back on a prescription that worked for me in the past. And it basically suppresses your appetite. Okay. And I was like, okay, it had worked losing weight, but I knew as soon as you get off of it, if you haven't adjusted your habits, you're just going to put it back on. Right. So I was like, okay, but I can do this. So I eat the same breakfast every morning. I eat, pretty much the same options of lunch every day. Dinner was where it kind of flexed, but I would try to minimize portions and all that to keep my calories at a certain level. And what was it? But then I started having a side effect from that medication.
Oh, really?
I'll share this with the class. In the bedroom.
Oh.
So one of the side effects.
Oh, man.
Is a floppy penis. So
not worth it.
I was
not
like,
worth it.
Nope.
Not worth it.
Not doing this medication.
Somebody give me a cheesecake stat.
Yeah, I'd rather be fat.
My God.
So, but then it takes like 3 or 4 days for that to get out of your system. So for 3 or 4 days, I'm like, was it the medication or is it me?
So, you got a floppy dick.
It was the medication. Floppy dick.
Oh my God, amazing.
But yeah, so yeah, it was, yeah. So that was, like I said, that was all in my head, mental with that. But, and so I got off the pills, but I'm still watching, trying, and honestly, there's no miracle. It's take in less than you burn.
Yeah, right. Sure.
In the end,
we all know this.
That's the magic thing.
Like, I think most of us at this point
we all know
this, like, intellectually. Yeah. But putting it into action is what we all struggle with.
So one of the things with Nutrisystem is the first little bit, they're like, don't work out because you're not eating enough calories in the beginning.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So like, don't work out. But then they're like, okay, start working out. Yeah. But the thing that I found is that I started working out so much comparatively that I wasn't getting enough calories from their stuff. But that's okay because I would supplement it with like another protein shake or things like that. Which honestly, protein's a huge thing. Like if you're trying to lose weight, from what I was told, there's a number and it's based on your weight and your ideal weight. And for me, I was supposed to eat 200 grams of protein a day.
That seems like a lot. I have no like mental image of what that is really and what it compares to other people, but that seems like a high number to me.
Yeah. So I would make oatmeal in the morning with half a scoop of protein powder. So it was about 10 to 15 grams of protein in that, plus a protein shake. So it's like a total of like 35 or whatever. Then I would have salmon for lunch. Like I'd have packets of salmon. And I'd like cook up some rice and spinach. That was another 30 grams of protein, another protein shake after lunch. And then for dinner, I would have like 2 salmon fillets that I would pan sear or pan cook with some spinach and garlic and lemon and stuff. And like, so I was hitting it. I was hitting, like when I told my trainer that, he's like, were you getting your protein? I'm like, yeah. And I tell him my numbers. He's like, I don't even get how you're doing it. And I told him, I remember, I'm like, how in the world are we supposed to do this with he's like, honestly, just a lot of chicken. Just eat a lot of chicken. In my case, I was like, well, I don't want to do that because of cholesterol. So I was like, I was doing a lot of salmon.
Probably a smart thing to do.
It's tough. Oh, and I do want to throw it out there for anybody. The exercise I did before I tried to do CrossFit, because eventually I was like, I got to do something more than just kind of cardio. Light boxer. It was this boxing platform that has lights and they plays music and you hit to the beat. And it was great. I loved it. It was a little pricey, but I mean, it wears you out because in a 3-minute song, you would throw like 300 punches. And I would do 6 songs in a row with 10 seconds in between songs. So it was, I think, it would say like, oh, your daily requirement's like 500 punches or 600. I was throwing like 2,000 punches in that process. So I was, and you'd feel it in your arms and stuff. But it was great from a stress relief and aggression, you know, all that. I actually broke 3 of the head units.
Whoa.
Hitting it so hard. And they would, because it's part of a subscription plan for it, and they would ship me another one, and I'd ship the other one back. You know, they didn't charge me anything for either way.
Dude,
so
that's crazy to me.
But yeah, I've broken several.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you weren't the first person to break it.
Yeah. No, yeah, I can't imagine. So, and it's interesting because they actually have now options where they have VR, a version of it for on the Quests and stuff like that, which I've tried, but it's not the same as physically hitting something. But it's still kind of, from a workout perspective, it's actually harder because you're not hitting something. I mean, that's why boxers, they go round and round, they hit stuff all the time. It's fine. But as soon as people start moving, you're now wasting that energy, you know, throwing that punch. That
it's also like psychological, right? Because you're not getting that contact. You're not getting that like that gratification that you get from like making contact.
Right.
So makes sense to me.
Oh yeah, like it definitely hurts my hands because I've started doing it again as I've tried to say, okay, I got to get something because just walking wasn't enough, and so I'm back into it. Been doing the light boxer now for like 3 weeks. I've lost 20 pounds again. Doing that plus the dieting. Next week I'm going to start going back to the gym on my
That's great.
Light boxer days.
So what about like your family? Is weight a concern to other folks in your family? Do they have similar struggles as you?
Oh God, yeah, definitely. So I won't throw out the relationship, but I do have one family member that was significantly morbidly obese, in my opinion. And then theirs, because they actually had to have a liver transplant because of it.
Oof.
They had a liver transplant because they got fatty liver, which then turned to cirrhosis of the liver, and it was like a whole thing. And that was part of one of the catalysts that kind of started me because they had that happen, and then all of a sudden I was diagnosed with fatty liver. I was like, well, I don't want that because I've seen what they went through, and it's awful getting that transplant. And I've got another family member, you know, diabetes and stuff like that, and so yeah, definitely a concern. The thing that, you know, it's funny, speaking of family, I think the one thing is support. So while I was doing, especially the longer weight loss journey where I lost 120 pounds, I didn't have a ton of support at home. I was the one that did the grocery shopping, and they would still ask for sweets and candies and chips and the stuff you want, right? And so now I'm having to go down and pick this stuff out.
Do you mind going
like
down to the grocery store and getting me a dozen donuts, please? Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, exactly. Actually, go to the donuts. Hey, go to the donut store for me and pick up.
Yeah, can you get
all
some
this stuff,
Krispy Kremes? I really have a really big craving for Krispy Kremes today for some reason. Yeah.
Or how about on the way home from dropping my son's friend off, and they're like, "Hey, let's stop at Dairy Queen." I'm like, I don't want to stop at Dairy Queen because that's like a huge vice for me. Is
you were being railroaded, man,
and
you were being railroaded hard.
Oh
dude.
God, yeah.
Like, if I can't lose weight, or he can't lose weight either.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or hey, here's some chocolates. I just thought maybe you'd like some. Why would I want these? You know, I'm trying to die. Like, it's just, it was hard. It was messed up. And I was the one cooking dinner. Yeah. Like, I cooked dinner for everybody, and not my meal. I cooked their meal, whatever it was, and then I would cook my stuff.
Yeah, I would have been like, do you know how much I really want to see my penis? You know how long it's been since I've seen my own member?
Well, the lucky thing for me is I do carry my weight well.
So you carry it all on
Nobody, so I was able to. So, no, just all over. Okay. So, like, when I was at my heaviest, I was 370. And anybody who knew me, when I would tell them, oh, 370 pounds, they're like, no friggin' way.
Yeah, you're tall too.
Yeah, but I'm not like 6'4". I'm 6'1". Or 6'2", depending on the convenience store I'm walking out of. Thank you, Ron White, for that joke. But no, when I went to CrossFit, they did this body scan thing where you hold onto this thing and it measures how much muscle mass you have. and I had over 100 pounds of muscle
That's good.
just on me. I have thick thighs because thick thighs save lives.
Yeah, they do.
But I mean, I do. I've always had muscular thighs, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of muscle in the core. Just wasn't toned. It's just under the layers of fat. So, but because I knew there was a guy I worked with, he'd lost a bunch of weight, and he was like, I forget what, and he looked much larger than me, and just belly and everything, right? And I remember when I was like, "Oh, you look good. You look like you've been losing weight." He goes, "Yeah." And he was like, I started at 300 pounds. And the part that was crazy to me is that I weighed 70 pounds more than him at that time, and yet I looked thinner than he did, or better than he did.
Yeah, wow.
So I do carry it well, but
yeah. So my
it was getting hard to wipe my ass at 370. I'll tell you that much.
That's a motivator.
370.
That's a motivator.
It gets hard to wipe your butt. You get cramps in your side as you're trying to reach back there, and it's like, oh my god. I'm like, am I gonna have to get the stick for wiping my butt? Like, I don't like that's
Right.
definitely a motivator.
Well, one of my brothers goes straight into the shower after taking a deuce.
What do you do when you're out in public?
He doesn't go anywhere. He just stays home. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect him at all. He just hops in the shower.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'll give him kudos to that, right? Like, he's right. We should all either use bidets or hop into the shower, like, right after we're done.
Oh, we need a bidet.
Yeah.
My last house, we redid the bathroom, and I had them install an outlet in the toilet area so that I could get an electric toilet seat with a bidet. Oh, I miss it so much.
I need to do that.
And I tried to install one at the place we're currently in, and it wouldn't work. It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Like, we're heathens for not using water to clean your butt. Like, I've been in the Middle East. In the Middle East, you use water sprayers and stuff, and the toilet paper is like, usually, if there's something, it's usually really thick because it's not for wiping, it's for drying. From how we got down this road, the toilet from the weight loss journey.
Yeah. So my family, the weight loss story in my family is that we're all first of all born big. I was like a 10-pound baby coming out of my mom. Yeah. My twin sisters, twins tend to be small. I think their average is like 6-7 pounds, something like that, right? Like they were 9-pound babies.
Yeah. And they're usually C-section too.
Right. They were like 9 or 10 pounds.
18 pounds.
So just imagine, and my mom's not very tall. She's not a very tall woman. She's what, 5'3", I think is what 5 foot.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's 5 foot something. She's short. Yeah, 5'2". 5'2".
Between 5 foot and 5'11".
Yeah, so she's somewhere. She's somewhere in that range. So she's not 6'1" or 6'4". Right. And she herself always, I remember growing up, she always kind of, fluctuated with her weight and always kind of struggled with that. She did the whole different dieting stuff. I remember any particular week there'd be like either, some protein shake thingamabob, or there would be some sort of a diet thing that my mom is working on. And then she also did the whole pill stuff too. Now, she's retirement age and everything. She is on Ozempic for her diabetes. So they gave that to her not as a weight loss solution, but as a diabetic control solution. And of course, as you guys have probably all heard, she's had a ton of weight loss on it. Yeah. So it does. So that works, and that seems to be working for her as long as she's on it, though, right? Her problem is the same problem that you and I seem to have, is that like she gets off her diet or gets off whatever diet pill she's on or whatever, and she just gains the weight back. And I'll admit, like I go back to my bad habits. I do, and that's the reason why I gained my my weight back. And then my siblings, they're all big. Yeah. They're all big people. My dad, he also fluctuates in weight. But I think that's just him. He doesn't really do dieting necessarily. But like I have a very similar body type that he does. And, he's a big dude. I'm a big
gorgeous
dude. Studs, man, studs. My father may not be the ideal father, but back in the day he was a stud. Anyway, so yeah, man. And then I also have other folks in the family that are the opposite. They don't struggle with weight at all. Like, it's interesting. Like, my mom has 2 other sisters. And my mom, out of the three of them, is the oldest one. And she's always been the heavier set, the fuller figured gal out of the three of them. Then after her she's got one sister who's always been skinny. Like she was born super skinny, right? Like she was always super skinny, right? And she still is super skinny. And then she's got a third sister who was also pretty thin. I mean, now that she's older, she's gained, you know, a little bit of weight, but she's also always been very skinny. So my mom, out of her family, was always the bigger person. And the thing is, like, they have the same parents. It's not like they have different parents. They all kind of grew up the same way, right? It's just some people, like I know my aunt, the one that's super skinny. Food is not something that she really likes. And she was always very picky. She was never a good cook. I mean, she is a better cook now in the times that I've eaten at her house. I'm just saying this for my aunt. Her food is delicious. But from what I've heard in the past, it was not a focus area for her. So, whereas my mom, it was a creative outlet for her, right? So, like, I also think that some people just psychologically have different relationships with food, and that kind of, you know, informs their day-to-day with it, you know, and how much they eat and what they use food for, whether it's comfort or for nourishment, right? Like those sorts of things. I use it, I'm not going to lie, I use it for comfort. I definitely
use it for comfort. Yeah, me too. So. Me too. Which is the problem. Yeah. So I definitely stress eat. When I'm stressed out or depressed, I definitely eat, and that's. But even when I'm happy, though, I eat because it's like.
Well, you got to celebrate,
remember, you know,
right?
It's funny you talking about parents. Yeah. I remember, you know, it's funny you talk about parents. So for my father, biological father, he, whenever he was not in a relationship, he would always lose weight, and because he didn't have somebody cooking for him. But as soon as he was in a relationship, he would put on weight.
Eating good.
And it's because, one, that somebody's cooking, he was eating good, and I think some of it comes back to, well, I don't need to worry about looking good because I have somebody.
Right, yeah.
And that's the one thing, is like, when I started that weight loss journey before, I felt so bad about myself that I was like, I wasn't even attracted to myself. It was like there were times where I didn't want any intimacy in the bedroom because I didn't feel attractive. And I was like, why would they, you know, kind of, it was messes with your mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still down 80 pounds, so that's good.
That is great.
From where I was.
And that is an accomplishment for sure, man. Like that's 80 pounds is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's definitely still good. I just need to get back down to where I was towards the end of last year. You know, it's funny, we were talking about the weight, and you know, so about how I carry it well. So, and you're saying, well, when I was in the Navy, they measure you height and weight, right? And based on your height, there's certain weights are allowed. And for me, for my height, I think they said 192 pounds was the heaviest you could be without having to get, like, they'd measure your neck, measure your waist, and then they would do some math and say, okay, yeah, you're not overweight, you're good. I was 220, and I had abs and stuff. Like, I was in good shape, and I was still 220. And so I would, but yes, I would still have to get measured because I would fail their weight scale. But, that's like, I hate when you do the apps that, you know, for tracking your calories, and they're like, well, how tall are you? How much do you weigh? And they're like, oh, you're 40%. And it's like, no, I'm not. I mean, yeah, I'm heavy, but I'm not that, because it doesn't actually measure, you know, your BMI. So, because the doctor does the same thing. They're like, oh, well, this is your BMI. No, it's not. Did you actually take and measure the fat on my body? Because if you didn't, then that's not fair.
Right. So I guess, you know, some final thoughts are probably in order.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of thoughts. I think that first of all, I think everyone should appreciate who they are. Right. I think that, you know, they say that change comes from within, and I truly believe that. You've got to be in the right headspace in order to make any sort of meaningful change in your life, including weight loss.
Yeah.
So I think everyone, if you're going to embark on a journey like a weight loss journey or some other journey to change your life, I think you got to start kind of within and get yourself in a good, mentally healthy place, and then start tackling whatever issue it is that you're trying to tackle. Because if you don't love yourself, if you're in a bad spot mentally, your efforts are really not gonna, they're probably gonna be wasted. It's really not gonna, you're really not gonna get very far. So I think that's kind of one of my initial
I agree with
thoughts.
that.
And then the other thing is, I think it's okay to seek help. So my spouse, she went and did a gastric sleeve surgery, and she lost a ton of weight, you know, and then a few years after that, she gained weight, and we were just kind of reflecting on it. So, matter of fact, earlier today, before we were recording this episode, I asked her, I'm like, hey, anything that I should bring up during our episode? And she brought up the whole thing about how she's always gained weight when she wasn't in a good mental space. And that's kind of what happened here after the gastric sleeve. Now, did she regain all her weight back? No way. You know, and she's got some other health issues that are challenging and kind of get in her way and affect her mind space negatively, you know, but I think just trying to maintain that positive mind space goes a long way, and also seeking help, right? Like she went out, she tried to do the dieting stuff. She went out, she decided, I'm going to go to a weight loss doctor and I'm going to see what he recommends. He happened to recommend the gastric sleeve, and it happened to be the right thing for her at the time, you know? And there's no shame in that. No shame in that. When you have gone out and you've asked for your doctor's help, right? And you've gotten prescription medication, which I think is really good. But then maintaining it afterwards, I think is up to your mental state and how you feel about yourself to keep it going. So I think those are probably my two key thoughts after today's episode.
That's good to know. Yeah, I think those are very good to share with everyone. For me, a couple things so prescription medications, talking to your doctor, super important if you're trying to go on this journey, especially if you're trying to start doing any kind of exercising that you haven't been doing. It's probably a good idea because you don't want to hurt yourself. Because the last thing you want to do is get into a routine and then you hurt yourself and then you aren't able to do the routine anymore.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Secondly, be careful of the over-the-counter dieting options. Like what I mean is like some of the pills that they have out there that are just kind of those are not regulated by anyone. Some of them actually just have like sawdust inside of them because it fills you up. They'll call it cellulose, but it's basically something that expands with the water they have you drink. So just be careful with some of that stuff. Also, they talk about how weight loss, it's a journey, and I've used that a couple times in here. But I also like to consider it a war, because you don't win every battle, because every meal is a battle sometimes, especially if you're trying to do it through calorie counting and things like that. It's a battle to change your diet that you've been on, because that's what dieting is. It shouldn't be about reducing how much you eat. It should be changing what you eat so that it becomes your diet, what you actually consume going forward on a regular basis. So I consider it a war. And as long as you win the war, in the long run, that's the important piece, because you're not going to win every battle. You're going to have bad days, and it's okay, because sometimes you do need to give yourself some of those things you miss, because otherwise, when you do get off the diet, you're going to go straight back to those things if you haven't learned to incorporate them in better amounts. So,
but man, I love that. I love that analogy, man. A war. Oh, that's so good. You just gave me some goosebumps, dude.
Sure felt like a damn war.
Goosebumps are like insane right now. So that's it for today's episode. We'll be releasing these bi-weekly as video to YouTube and as an audio version on all podcast platforms, so you can keep us in your pocket and listen to us wherever you may be. So please make sure to subscribe and check out the links in the description for more content like this. Well, this was fun. See you guys at the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. My mom doesn't love me. Bye.
That's true. She doesn't.